It was just too easy.
Yeah, just a one shot on target then from Manchester United at home, losing once again. Newcastle taking all the 3 points. Just taking a look at the bottom half of the standings to remind you how bad it is for Manchester United at the moment. They currently sit 14th in the table. They are just 7 clear of the relegation zone. We've seen a lot of Manchester United, obviously, Craig, this season. That opening half an hour, was it the worst?
I mean, there's a lot of choice.
Yeah.
It's close. Probably is. Makes no difference, I suppose, what I say in terms of that, but it's just bad. The whole place is rotten to the core. Manager's finding that out big time. I mean, he knew there was problems, but he's walked into, I bet he can't believe, the unprofessionalism, the inability to deal with adversity, the inability to do the basics, inability to work hard, some of them, which was a problem before for the previous manager, who's culpable in his recruitment, but not the only one. And, you know, you got a back five, right? You got 2 wing backs out there, and you got 3 centre backs who can't pick anybody up. You got Lisandro Martinez, he's been an absolute disaster of late. And whilst this club and this squad is absolutely horrible, it's just been assembled in such a horrible way that you have to look at the manager as well here and say, look, okay, you've come in with this stringent way of doing things, and a couple of the games your shape's been not too bad. But what are you going to do about figuring out getting some results? And also, when you look at who's culpable, he's also culpable. Because any manager that sits down and thinks that he can play Christian Eriksen and Casemiro, who's gone, against one of the better, most informed midfields in the country at the moment, Newcastle are picking up a head of steam. Joe Linton, Sandro Tonali,
yep.
Bruno Guimaraes, absolutely terrific. Will dominate games, can pass the ball for fun, can get about the field, and Joe Linton can get in the box. And yet, Robbo, he still thinks he can go with this midfield. So it's not, some of it's down to him.
Absolutely down to him, because, and the fact that where he played Zirkzee, he played him sort of, I would say, through an inside left position, but he wasn't required to come, well, he was required to come back and defend, but he didn't do so. But I don't think the manager told him to do that. And Amad Diallo almost played as a wide right player. They already had Mazraoui out there, so they had 2 players in wide areas, and now they're going to be outnumbered in central midfield. And as you always say when I say it, Dan, if you get outplayed in central midfield, you're going to have a problem. You can't control the game. Newcastle controlled the game. They played with ease. It was far too easy for them to get it out wide, get crosses into the box. And you look at the 3 centre-halves, De Ligt is a player that I liked when he was at Ajax, but he struggled at Juventus to a certain degree. He struggled at Bayern Munich to a certain degree. He's struggling at the moment, both for pace and for his ability on the ball. Maguire is a nervous player now. He's not making big decisions when balls come into the box. And Martinez, you said it, he's having an absolute disaster. Most of the things that went wrong defensively today, I would put on Martinez. He made the wrong decision when to step up. He allowed Isak to run down the side of him on 2 or 3 occasions when he was onside. And when the ball came in the box, that first one, there's nobody outside of Martinez. There's nobody outside of Isak. And they've got 2 players. Dalot and him were standing on there. He can see him going into that position for a long time. And I think the commentator was saying, well, he was passing him on to Maguire. He doesn't need to pass him on to Maguire. He needs to get 2 yards the other side and head it himself. He didn't do so. And the second one, because now they're saying, well, you make sure you get touch tight to Isak. Maguire goes too tight to Isak because he's in a not a very good area. And it allows space for the midfield players to make the forward. And again, Martinez didn't see it until it was too late. Poor play.
When Martinez plays that pass at the Etihad to Amad Diallo from his left side, from that left side of centre position, he pings that ball in and everyone's going, that's fantastic. Kind of one of the parts of the game that he was brought in for. But here's the deal, one of the most, and that's fine, left-sided player, pinging balls, starting. But the other side of the game is more important, and the defensive aspect of the game, he either makes rash and horrible and dangerous challenges, or he just gets out-muscled in the box, or he hasn't put himself in a good position. It's all very well having a left-sided player that can pass it, but you have to be able to defend as well. So
he's got by on previous occasions, and he's a World Cup winner, so you know he's obviously a decent player, but he's got by on aggression and throwing himself into tackles. He's not very quick. He's obviously not very good in the air, and at the moment, he's not reading danger. That makes him a poor defender.
Ruben Amorim obviously has said, look, I've had no time to work with these players on my system. So it's a busy time of year. You know, we've had no time on the training ground, which I understand. But, like a broken record, Pereira comes in at Wolves and gets results straight away. You know, they drew against Spurs yesterday, obviously beat Manchester United a couple of games ago. As a club, that's what you want first, isn't it? Considering what Manchester United have done so far this season. It's to get results, to get victories, and then you can work on things.
Well, there's been a couple of games where, particularly at the start, when I looked at this shape of Amorim and I went, wait, this clearly they've had a couple of days working on this. And it's
That first game against Ipswich, they had good shape,
it's
didn't they?
looked okay. They had a good shape at the Etihad. And so you looked at it and went, yeah, but it's sort of one step forward, two steps back here. And the difference is, you know, maybe players, and Wolves have had their issues. Of course, there was a bit of infighting on the field before Gary Neal got the sack and results were poor. But maybe they're just a more willing group of players. Wolves, it is.
But you said it as well. If you go in with Casemiro and Eriksson, with two central midfield players that can't run, and the opposition are going to play with three there, why did he not pick Mainu from the start of the game?
This isn't news. It isn't news to anyone, so surely it shouldn't be news to Amorim.
Yeah. And that's the difficult thing he's done, I think. He keeps changing the players and the personnel to try and find the right combination. That combination against Newcastle was never going to work. And he admitted that when he took off Zirkzee after 40 minutes. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. He had to play Mainu at the start because he's got more energy than one of those other players. And he couldn't play Zirkzee in that formation.
Zirkzee obviously taken off early.
Yeah, you can't blame. I mean, it's nothing to do with him. He's not good enough.
It's got to be hard though when your own fans are cheering that you're coming off and then you're going.
I mean that's just a horrible scenario to be in. But his manager has put him in that scenario because A, he's not good enough, along with many others at that club, to be playing for Manchester United, and two, he is a consequence of the manager screwing it up. He screwed up. His tactics were terrible.
Right.
Terrible. And he got absolutely horsed in the middle of the park, and then he had to make a change. And by the way, even at 33 minutes, he was too late making that change. But the scary thing is here is I think it's a way worse than almost everybody imagined, because people probably thought he was going to get more of a tune out of this team, which he currently is not. Everybody's now talking about transfer windows with January and the summer and how many. I mean, that's how rotten.
Yeah. That's
how rotten it is, and I bet every sort of networking show covering this Manchester United team will be asking the same thing. It's like, how many players would you keep? And I don't care if Agate's in the stand, and I don't care about Bruno Fernandes being in the stand. Are you really going out on a limb and saying, well, we'll hang the hat on Bruno Fernandes?
Yeah.
Because he's a liability. He's a talent, but he's a liability. So, you know, they've got defenders that are incapable of defending now. I'm not a big fan of the goalkeeper, for being honest. Eriksson and you know, Casemiro certainly are finished at this level. They have a willing frontman and Rasmus Højlund. He's willing to work hard, but he's nothing more than a squad player. Then you're looking at a couple of younger players, and we're talking about Manchester United here. I mean, it's not a stretch to say if they, in 3 or 4 weeks' time, were even closer to the relegation zone, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if we were talking about them being just a couple of places above the relegation zone, because when you see teams like Ipswich, who we'll talk about, being able to raise a gallop against Chelsea, when you see some of these teams down the bottom that are at least able to roll their sleeves up and try and get a result, then why would Man United not be getting dragged back down into this relegation dogfight, which I think currently probably going to be.
Next up, Liverpool Anfield.
Right? Yeah, it's a difficult game. You know, one of the manager's jobs when he comes in is, I spoke about it yesterday, you've got to make the good players, the people that are playing well under Ten Hag, you've got to keep them playing well. 2 players that were playing well, and they said they're the 2 players that they're going to build or 2 of the 3 players they were going to build the side around. Mainu hasn't played the same under Amorim, and Garnacho now is almost like they throw him on as a last-minute sub.
Who did nothing when he came on.
Who's done nothing. Yet they were the 2 players everyone was talking about being the future of Manchester United. He's come in and made them worse. So that's not good management.
This goes. I saw a picture the other day. I can't remember. It was the last game that they lost, because they just lose so many now.
Bournemouth.
I can't keep up. It was Sir Jim Ratcliffe with his head in his hands. But you know what? I absolutely blame them as well.
Yep.
Because not that things were going to be perfect, but things would not have been as bad had they not sat in their backside in the summer and gave us all this twaddle about, you know, Erik Ten Hag being the man and that. And so they wasted months and millions more on substandard players with a substandard manager at a football club he should never have been at. It was crystal clear after 12, 18 months or so. And yet this new sort of fantastic visionary investment.
One that they've already sacked. One of the people they brought in, they've already sacked.
They talked to every Tom, Dick and Harry about taking the job, went out and spent more money, and then when the fire's burning away, they just sack him and then bring in Ruben Amorim when more damage has been done. And yet these people are supposed to be cuter at the job than the Glazers. I mean, the Glazers might be the pits to Man United fans taking money out of the club, and I get all that, and I understand that. But what have Ineos and all the cronies that are around Ineos advising, what have they done at the moment of any positive consequence at the club, apart from the crazy, ludicrous decision they made in the summer, which was to let Ten Hag give him a new deal and let him roll on.
Based on one game, a cup final. Based on one game, a cup final.
A word on Newcastle, played some nice stuff today.
Good, very good. The midfielder we talked about, Tonali, I think he's done really well. Having come back from his ban, he's come straight back into form. Jolinton making those forward runs. Isak looks an outstanding play. He didn't just play through the middle, he went out wide at times. Gordon with his pace. That's a good team. And I thought Dan Burn and Share, apart from one mistake when he tried to play out from the back, played well as well, really well.
But he's turned it round, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He was from the start of the season.
Yeah. There was a lot of talk about, and it's early days and there's half the season to go, but there was a lot of talk about Eddie Howe and, you know, his position there, and they were a bit inconsistent, but they've got that, not only the winning games, but from that early period when he came in, when they had a really good tempo about the way they did things, they'd sort of lost that a little bit. And I think maybe a big part of that was the fact that their defence was ravaged. Obviously the goalkeeper was out for a while. Tonali had this long ban that he was dealing with months and months and months for the gambling. But now that all that's sort of back together, with, you know, the control in the middle of the park, they got centre halves, and we're saying this because we're talking about Man United. We've got centre halves that want to go and head the ball and want to pick players up and want to defend, and then that allows, you know, your Jacob Murphys, your Anthony Gordon, your Alexander Isaks to go and do. It's a platform for them to go and do stuff. Contrast to United, they just don't have a platform.
## why Marcus Rashford was included in the Manchester United squad against Newcastle. Marcus Rashford has been called up to the Manchester United squad for the Premier League clash against Newcastle, where he started on the bench. Manager Ruben Amorim provided insights into Rashford's inclusion, emphasising, he is available for selection. The English international's return marks his first appearance in the squad since the Europa League victory over Victoria Plzen on December 12. After being omitted from the last 4 matchday squads, Rashford recently expressed to journalist Henry Winter that he was ready for a new challenge and the next steps. Given United's ongoing issues with injuries and suspensions, Amorim's decision to reintegrate Rashford into the team makes strategic sense. The Portuguese manager reiterated that Rashford is still part of the United setup, ensuring he remains an option. Speaking to Sky Sports before kickoff, Amorim stated, "We have many players unavailable. He's on the pitch every week. I choose my players, and this time, he's here." With Bruno Fernandes suspended, Joshua Zirkzee stepped in to bolster the attack alongside Rasmus Højlund and Ahmad. Ahmad's versatility has been evident, as he has also played as a right-back during Amorim's tenure. When questioned about the tactical shift to field full-backs in wide roles rather than traditional wingers, Amorim explained, "Sometimes it's about making the team more compact, adapting for set pieces, and trying different approaches. We won against City that way, and I believe we can control the game better." Despite the optimism surrounding Rashford's return, the context of his absence raises concerns about the team's performance. Fans have been vocal about their frustrations with the squad's inconsistency, and Rashford's potential impact on the field could be crucial in reversing their fortunes. Many supporters hope that his presence can inject fresh energy into the team, especially given the mounting pressure on Amorim following a series of disappointing results. As the match against Newcastle approached, the stakes were high for United. The club was grappling with its worst run of form in recent history, and every point was vital in the battle for a top-half finish. Rashford's inclusion was seen as a gamble that could either pay off spectacularly or add to the growing scrutiny on Amorim's managerial decisions. In the aftermath of the match, fans and pundits alike will likely analyse Rashford's performance closely. A strong showing could bolster his standing within the squad, while another lacklustre display might lead to further questions about his future at the club. Regardless of the outcome, Rashford's return signifies a pivotal moment for both him and Manchester United as they navigate a challenging season.